Hello and welcome to the 1993 Royal Rumble review. I'm Brett Mix and this is the Wrestling Talk. Let's Talk Wrestling 101, LTW 101 for short. Glad you're joining us for another Rumble review. If you like these Rumble reviews, please click the like button and subscribe. I'm just trying to get myself off the floor, up and running here on the YouTube community. I'm looking to get better at this review thing. I don't have the fancy equipment yet. I don't have the microphone or the camera, but what I have here is wrestling knowledge, and you're the wrestling fan, so I think this thing could hit off pretty good. So hit that like and subscribe button, please. It helps me a lot. If I look off to the side during this review, it's because I wrote a bunch of reviews for a website, which I no longer work for, but they have kept my reviews up. So I'm basing my reviews off of the review I've done and the video that I watched before every review. I watched the Rumble event, so I've rewatched the matches. And if I stutter on some words, it's because I'm just getting used to the YouTube communication thing, the video. I used to be a writer, not broadcasting one-on-one, even though I do have some broadcast experience, but not like this, not talking into a microphone about wrestling. So it's going to take me some time, but if you just give me the chance, I'm sure you'll like it. All right. Well, this Rumble, first time ever, into some trivia here. This Rumble was the first one ever where the returning two commentators from the last Rumble appeared back. So Gorilla and Bobby did the 92 Rumble. They also did this one. And it's the first time. If you go back, you'll see there's just a different commentator in each Rumble from 1988 to 93, except for 92 and 93. In the dark match, Doink beat Jim Powers. And this was before the show went on the air. And also on this event, the Lex Luger, the narcissist, I should say, was introduced in a segment with both Bobby the Brain Heenan gushing over his muscles. Kind of awkward, kind of long, but that's the way they did it. And Lex Luger was introduced as a new top heel in the company. Bret Hart wrote on Below the Belt during an interview inside Below the Belt. There's a book, I guess. He said that the rumor was to face Warrior at this Rumble. They were going to have Bret Hart versus the Ultimate Warrior. That would have been interesting. That would have been interesting anywhere, but in the WWF, for sure. This event is the first one where the Rumble winner goes to WrestleMania, and they made a big deal of that because they were at Caesar's Palace for the next WrestleMania, so they had like a Roman Emperor type theme. The Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, defeated the Beverly brothers, Bo and Blake, in an opener. So a tag team match opens the Rumble 3 years in a row, and this time around the Beverly brothers have a great match, because last year the match with the Bushwhackers in the Rumble I just reviewed in 1992 stunk. This match was 3.5 stars. It was what I had it at when I rated it last, and I'm keeping it with the same rating. And yeah, just a great tag team opener. The Steiner Brothers theme, by the way, is so 80s, even though it's the early 90s. I just love the theme. That's just a side note. Shawn and Jannetty one-on-one. This is right after Shawn kicked Jannetty with a super kick at the barbershop and threw the glass. The best heel turns of all time. This was Shawn's first big match as a singles competitor, and he ended up being the champion at the end. He won the match at 14-20, and Sherry was a big part of this match. Even to the back, she's following both men, and Mean Gene loses his cool. Mean Gene goes, "Sherry, damn it, settle down!" The fans even laughed. You have to go back and watch that if you haven't seen that in a while. The commentary in this whole pay-per-view is hilarious. He did not. Oh, why don't you be serious? That's just classic stuff between Heenan and Monsoon. It's never a dull moment. Even if it's a dull match, their commentary can carry it through. That's why commentary is so important. Anyways, I gave that Shawn Michaels Jannetty match 3 stars. A lot of near falls in that one. There was a rumor that Jannetty showed up drunk. We know he has some substance abuse problems, but that's just the rumor I heard. It didn't look like it because the match didn't seem too coarse. It seemed rather flawless. Bam Bam Bigelow and the Boss Man were the third match of the night, one-on-one. For some reason, the Rumble pay-per-views always have the Big Boss Man in some kind of mid-card match with a worker that's not really agile. Even though Bam Bam was, I gotta rephrase that because Bam Bam is one of the most agile big men there is. What I meant is he's not in there with someone like a Steamboat, a Bret Hart, a Benoit. Like he's not in one of those wrestling machines. It's Bam Bam Bigelow. I just when I see his name, I think big man worker, but I have to remind myself he's one of the most agile men there is, and if anything, he's underrated. So that wasn't the case here. Bam Bam and Bossman actually put together a decent match. I rated it 1.75 stars because it lasted over 10 minutes. I think if this was a 5-6 minute match, it would have been maybe in the 2.5 star category. But I'll keep it at 1.3-4, so 1.75. Then at 4, we had Bret the Hitman Hart versus the bad guy Razor Ramon. There was a sign that said Bret walks the razor's edge, and they zoomed in on it. This is better than their King of the Ring 93 match. I think that one told a good story about Ramon being a evil heel and like stomping on Bret's knuckles and Bret selling that later his match with Mr. Excellent match with Mr. Perfect from King of the Ring 93. But this one was more like this match here with Bret and Ramon could have headlined the event. It was a solid match. It got enough time. They told a great story here. Hart worked on the legs of Hall. Hall was a big man, you got to remember. Uh, just an awesome match. Bret got the win with the sharpshooter at 17:52. 3.5 stars. And a great ovation for Bret, whose parents were at ringside. So just an awesome match. And now we get to the main event, the 93 Rumble. The winner will go to WrestleMania. And to start the Rumble off, we have the man who came in at number 3 the year before, the winner of the year before's Rumble, Ric Flair. Heenan hilariously still loved Flair and bet on him again, so of course he wasn't happy when Flair drew number 1, but he motivated him on commentary. Flair, of course, left the company the following night when in that lose Mr. Perfect. Flair and Backlund, number 1 and number 2. That's two wrestling legends right there. They start off the Rumble. This Rumble was really awkward roster wise. You had guys like Flair and Backlund, but then you had guys who looked very new generation ish, and we'll get to that. Backlund and Flair tied up in the ring. Flair was shocked and tied up with Backlund after he pushed him off through a shoulder block, and each time he charged towards Backlund, Flair dodged it and would strut around the ring, talking about history. Talking about history. Flair would just strut around the ring. Papa Shango came out, and then he beat on Backlund. That's another example of new generation, is what I'm trying to say. Mixed in with the old school, roster-wise. Ted DiBiase comes out at number 4. This is the third or fourth time he's come in the bottom 4 for a Royal Rumble. He always comes in right away. DiBiase, he also had a 30th spot in a Rumble. And so it's either the very end or the beginning for him. One half of the Nasty Boys came out next. Virgil. After that, Jerry Lawler came out then. And now, so we have Flair, DiBiase, Lawler, and Backlund all in the ring at the same time. Think about that. DiBiase from Mid-South. Got Flair from the Georgia Championship Wrestling, NWA. We got Backlund from the WWF. And we got Lawler from Memphis. I mean, or the AWA. That's just great. And to see them all in the ring at once, that's sight to see. Max Moon came out at number 8. So that's what I'm talking about. You got these old schoolers in, and then you got Max Moon, Papa Shango. It was really awkward. And it even gets more awkward when a certain somebody makes his debut. They're like 10 feet tall. I'm talking about, of course, Giant Gonzalez. I heard that Max Moon couldn't be in the ring at the same time as somebody else because they slept with Max Moon's wife. That's a old wrestling story I heard. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. Tenryu came out next. Then he went into a chopping floor with Ric Flair. And the 10th entrant, Mr. Perfect. That was the second pop of the night so far out of Bret Hart submitting Ramon. And Heenan came out, oh my God, no, as Mr. Perfect went after Flair. This would preview their match the next night. That classic Raw match where Flair's last WWF match before his comeback. Skinner came out, Coco Beware, one of the head shrinkers, the Berserker. A lot of wrestling around this time. Came in the middle of the ring, and in the middle entrant was The Undertaker, who had Paul Bearer. And Heenan said, it'll be time for WrestleMania before Undertaker gets in the ring. Terry Taylor came out, yes, the man deemed to be missed by some of the. Thank God that he just became the Red Rooster and Kurt Hennig got the Mr. Perfect title. Because Mr. Perfect, I couldn't see it being anyone else than Kurt Hennig. Taker, and this is the part where Gonzalez comes out in the middle of the match. He wasn't an entrant, but he comes out and other guys are thrown around. Watching Stu Hart and Helen Hart look at Giant Gonzalez is a sight to see. The front row, just looking like, what did I sell my company to? What am I doing here? What is this business? This guy. Those are the thoughts that come out in my mind. IRS came out next. The father of the late Bray Wyatt. Tatanka came out next after him. Then one of the Nasty Boys, then Typhoon, then Fatu, who we know as Rikishi, who also came into the Rumble many years as Rikishi and the Sultan. But Fatu was another one of his characters he came into. Earthquake, Cologne, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, Yokozuna, Earthquake, Repo Man, and then all of a sudden the Macho Man Randy Savage to the pop of the night at this point, coming out as the 30th entrant. Santana got thrown over the top rope by Savage. Then Owen drop kick sags the Nasty Boys. That's right, Owen Hart entered right before Savage did. Sorry, forgot to mention that. The ring began to clear big time. Backlund was still in there, as was Flair. And all of a sudden, that came to an end. Yokozuna got the better of Backlund. And the final two men in the match ended up being Macho Man Randy Savage and Yokozuna. Savage came off the top rope with the elbow drop, but Yokozuna was able to press him over on his back up to the top, over the rope to the floor. One of the dumbest match endings ever in Rumble history because it denied the laws of physics, really. Savage is really agile and can bump around a lot like Shawn Michaels does. And Yokozuna, I guess they were trying to get over his power. That even after an elbow drop, his power laying down on the mat can still send a man over the top rope. So I get what they were trying to do. It just didn't come off that great. And I rated this Rumble stars and a quarter. That's pretty fair. I'm going to stick with that. Overall, I gave this event a 6.5 out of 10. It had a good undercard. And the main event for the WWF title was a good match. And the Rumble had its moments. It's not one of the better Rumbles, but it had its moments. So overall, a 6.5 out of 10 I'd say is fair for Royal Rumble 93. Until next time, subscribe and like if you like the reviews. If you have any ideas, comment in the comment section. Say what pay-per-views you'd like me to see me review. And if you like something about the review style I do, or if you dislike something I do, other than me stuttering on words because I'll get better than that as I go, let me know in the comment section. I really appreciate it. If you guys do any of those things, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.